House Bill 1455 relates to legal age requirement for entering into a marriage. Generally, a person must be 18 years of age to enter into a marriage. A marriage license may be issued to a 17-year-old applicant if the applicant's parent or legal guardian provides written consent. A marriage entered into in which either party is under the age of 17 years is void. However, this age requirement may be waived by a judge of the Superior Court based on a showing of necessity. House Bill 1455 applies to marriages entered into on or after the effective date of the bill and provides that a marriage entered into in which a person has not attained the age of 18 is void. The bill also eliminates the authority of the court to waive the age requirement and the authority of a county auditor to issue marriage licenses to 17-year-old applicants. That concludes my remarks. I'm happy to address any questions.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Okay, Floor Leader Stonier, tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Chair Hansen, members of the committee. I'm Monica Stonier. I represent the 49th Legislative District in Vancouver, just north of Representative Cheney's, or just south of Representative Cheney's district. I do know the geography in the Southwest Washington. I bring this bill before you today in an effort to align access to the same procedures that somebody would need if they were in a coercive or forced marriage. In this country, child marriage has had a long history of abusive and coercive forced marriage and contributes to some of our human trafficking challenges that we face. Washington State is one that I believe should change the age to marry to being a legal adult so that anybody in that scenario also has the same legal access to any other supports they may need if they find themselves in such a scenario. That would include protective orders, legal, other access to legal court and proceedings. So this bill seeks to just align the access for people once married to have access to the tools that they would need to get out of such a scenario.
Great, thank you. Question of the prime sponsor? Representative Rood, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Stonier. Do you have any examples of marriages in Washington that have happened at 15 or 16 years old?
In my research, in the years before changing this age, there were about 4,800 marriages between the years of 2000 to 2018 that were below the age of 17.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Floor Leader. We appreciate your bill.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
You may.
In our previous conversation, I shared with you that this was a companion bill to a Senate bill, and I just would like to share with you that that bill has not been introduced, so this passage of this bill is the only opportunity to correct this in the state this year.
Thank you for that clarification, Madam Floor Leader. Okay, let's hear public testimony. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It looks like we are all remote. We'll start with Reiss, Theresa Harris, Katherine Cleland, and Sara Tasneem. On deck will be Megan Allen, Nina Martinez, and Skylar Fowler.
Great. Reiss, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. I'm here as a forced marriage survivor myself, also as an advocate who helps individuals across the U.S. through the nonprofit I founded, Unchained at Last, to escape forced and child marriages. As an expert also on the subject, my research and writing on this have been published extensively. So you heard about the current law. I want to make clear that the judicial approval process right now requires only a judicial finding of a showing of necessity. There is no interview required. The judge does not have to interview the minor. In many cases, these are minors being married off without any input from them and with no real legal recourse for a minor who does not want to marry. Also keep in mind that sex with a child under age 16 is a crime in Washington if the perpetrator falls outside the close-in age exceptions that exist in the law, but the law specifically exempts married couples. So in many cases, these marriages are a get-out-of-jail-free card for a child rapist. Another dangerous aspect of the law is once a minor is married, they are automatically emancipated. As you probably know, typically to become emancipated in Washington, you need to be at least 16 years old and you need to show a court that you can manage your own affairs. Nobody is looking at that when minors are automatically emancipated just because somebody handed them a marriage license. And what ends up happening is that these teens end up being forced to become financially dependent on their spouses in many cases, which is a risk factor for domestic violence. It is also leading to teen homelessness because most of these marriages, 70 to 80% of marriage before 18 ends in divorce. and these teens, we've seen in many cases, end up homeless. It is also an incentive for a parent to marry off their child so that they can get out of a child support obligation or get out of a child custody battle, because magically, once you marry off your child, they are emancipated. By not specifying a minimum marriage age in Washington, our laws here are in line with laws in Iran and Yemen, and it's time that we change them.
Great, thank you. Let's hear from Theresa Harris, please.
Thank you. I'm Theresa Harris. I'm a member of Zonta International, which is a century-old organization that works to make life better for women and girls. And as a resident of New York State, one of the 7 states in our union who have banned child marriage, I congratulate and thank the co-sponsors of House Bill 1455. Washington State is so close to becoming congruent and consistent. Currently, we don't let a child of 14, 15, 16, or even 17 adopt children. We don't let them make a contract. We don't let them join the military. We don't even let them buy a beer or a smoke. We're all familiar with these laws that are designed to protect our children. Washington does, however, allow children to be married. And when we consider the legal trap that this sets for them, just think about it. If their spouse turns abusive, a domestic violence shelter cannot help the minor child. If they need an order of protection, they can't get it. The minor child cannot file for divorce. She cannot hire an attorney. So I encourage you to join the other states that are closing the loopholes in their marriage laws. Set the standard to 18, no exception. I encourage you to say yes to 1455. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's hear from Katherine Cleland, please.
I had to unmute. Hi. Thank you, Chair Hansen, Vice Chair Farivar. I'm Katherine Cleland of Seattle, and I'm here to testify in favor of House Bill 1455 on behalf of the members of Zonta's Women's Service Clubs in Yakima, Olympia, South Puget Sound, and Everett, and on behalf of survivors of child marriage everywhere, and as a member of the National Coalition to End Child Marriage. Disbelief is the first reaction when people in my circles learn that child marriage is legal in Washington state. My networks are people who want to improve the lives of women and girls. Thousands of Washington residents support UNICEF and NGOs worldwide to end child marriage and protect girls, but we needed to look here at home. It's happening and it's not rare. Unchained at Last's analysis of the data from the Washington Department of Health indicates that 4,831 minors aged 15 to 17 were married in Washington state between 2000 and 2018. 80% of those were girls wed to adult men, an average of 4 years older. And between 2000 and 2014, at least 35 and maybe as many as 48 marriages occurred with an age difference that would have been considered a sex crime out of marriage. Just as Freddie said, it's that get out of jail free card for child rapists. In the testimony in the 28 hearing of this similar bill that Representative O'Donnell shared, cases of children marrying as young as 15 and teenagers being wed to 50-year-old men. Maybe it's just been too inconvenient to clean up this law that can trap teenagers in legal limbo, often coerced to marry, but too young to get out of these problem marriages if it follows the odds. It's a trap for many, and we request that you pass this bill out of committee with a due pass to clean up these loopholes and protect survivors.
Thank you. Sara Tasneem, please.
Good morning, Chair Hansen and committee members. My name is Sara Tasneem, and I'm here as a survivor of forced child marriage. I am providing my testimony in strong support of 1455 to end child marriage in the state of Washington. As you've heard, minors do not share the same rights as an adult, and that puts them in grave danger of becoming a victim of forced child marriage with absolutely no escape. My dad and legal guardian was the one who forced me to marry. At the age of 15, during a summer visit to see him, I was forced into a marriage I didn't want. My dad introduced me to a man one morning, and I was told I would marry him that night. That man was 13 years older than me. He was 28, and I was 15. My mom didn't know that this was taking place, And after a spiritual wedding ceremony that night, my dad handed me over to my abuser and left me in his care. My perpetrator now had full control over my life. I was not allowed to go back to school. Instead, I was taken out of the country, raped, and impregnated at an age where all I had dreamed of was going to the Air Force and then to law school. I was instead forced into a marriage and motherhood with a stranger almost twice my age. 6 months after our spiritual ceremony, we returned to the U.S., where I was legally married at the age of 16 and 6 months pregnant. My pregnant belly should have alerted authorities to a rape instead of rubber stamping my marriage certificate. That marriage certificate was a way for my perpetrators to not be charged with any of the crimes they were committing against me: kidnapping, rape, sexual assault, among many others. My personal experience highlights the very real dangers that minors face when forced into a marriage. My perpetrators entrapped me in a marriage so that they could escape any legal repercussions of abuse. As a minor, I faced extreme and numerous barriers to leave my abusive marriage. It took me 7 long years of surviving my abusive relationship and 2 children and overcoming enormous obstacles to file for divorce. It then took me 3 years to finalize my divorce, and sadly, I'm not the exception. There are so many reasons why child marriage is harmful to minors. Respectfully, I cannot think of one good reason why Washington would want to continue to expose minors to these great harms and abuse. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for taking the time to share your story with us. Let's hear further public testimony. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll hear from Megan Allen, Nina Martinez, and Skylar Fowler.
Thank you, Chair Hansen and members of the committee. I'm Megan Allen. I'm the Legal Advocacy Program Manager at King County Sexual Assault Resource Center. First, I want to thank Representative Stonier and all the bill sponsors for recognizing that people under 18 cannot enter a legal binding contract. The contract in this case involves a lifetime commitment to another person, physical, emotional, and financial. This straightforward proposal protects young people under 18 from potential exploitation, trafficking, or other harm, especially by people much older than them. For these reasons, we urge the committee to support House Bill 1455. If we were given the opportunity to improve its protections for young people, we would ask you to recognize a related need to raise the age of consent to sexual contact from 16 to 18. Currently, our laws increase youth vulnerability at a pivotal point in their lives, making them a target for predatory adults and giving them little to no remedies under the law. Under Washington statutes currently involving rape and molestation, youth 16 and 17-year-olds are treated as adults and burdened with expectations beyond their maturity. Current law presumes that they can give genuine and informed consent. As you consider these questions around our current law regarding age of child marriage and age of consent, I ask you to consider, who is it benefiting? Current laws promote a false belief that minors under 18 are capable of consistently and genuinely consenting to sex with an individual 25, 30, 40, 50, even older. This is in direct conflict with what we've learned of brain sciences. Over my 20 plus years at KSARC, my team and I have supported thousands of young victims, helping them to understand how they were groomed, manipulated, and coerced by adults with inherent power over them. Again, I want to thank you for the awareness that you've brought to these issues and for the opportunity to share our thoughts.
Great, thank you. Let's hear from Nina Martinez, please.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Rodarte. I will be speaking on behalf of Nina Martinez. I am board secretary and speaking on behalf of Latino Civic Alliance, a statewide civil rights organization, and LCA supports House Bill 1455. We believe child marriage, regardless of formal or informal union before age of 18, is a violation of children's human rights. Early marriage that includes religious cultural practices has devastating consequences for a girl's life and ends her childhood. House Bill 1455 will at least provide some legal protection for someone not to be forced into adulthood before they are physically and mentally ready. We believe child brides are put in a position that is dangerous and deprived of their rights to health, education, and safety. House Bill 1455 will help prevent cultural marriage practices that is usually arranged by parents. Several academic studies have shown that girls underage marriages suffer from domestic violence, both physical and mental, are not mature enough to have children. Countries like Latin America, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras are the fifth highest prevalence of child marriage in the world. According to the UNICEF report, 28% of the women polled in this region responded that they were child brides, and more than 1/5 were between the ages of 15 and 17. The remaining women were younger than 15 years of age when they were married. Within this region, most formal or informal marriages occur in rural and indigenous communities. LCA wants to make sure that our Latin American communities that immigrant to the U.S. and Washington state are clear that early marriage is not acceptable or legal in our state. Please pass House Bill 1455 out of committee. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Skylar Fowler, please.
Good morning, Representative Hansen and the rest of the committee members. My name is Skylar, and I'm a middle school student in Vancouver, Washington. I'm here today to support House Bill 1455, eliminating child marriage. I wonder why we need to be here in 2023 talking about this, because it's unethical. There's currently no minimum age to get married in Washington if a judge signs off on it. I am 14 years old, and I have an incredibly busy schedule, and I have to rely on other people to drive me where I need to go. I can't drive, and I get why, but I can get married? This doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to you? Thank you for your time, but before you go, my friend Finley here was unable to get a time slot in time. Could she have less than 2 minutes of your time?
I'm actually not sure what the rules are, but if she's with you, go ahead. She introduce herself and let her go.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Representative Hansen and the rest of the committee for letting me speak today. My name is Finley Mork, and I am an 8th grader at a middle school. I am currently 14, and I cannot vote. I cannot have a job, I cannot own a credit card, I cannot drive, I cannot agree to major medical operations, and I cannot buy a house. These are just a few of the many things that people my age can't do or have. The reasoning for this is the same as for why I should not be allowed to get married. Being able